Natureholics, welcome to the stream. We've got an epic one today. We're going to do the main card for the UFC. It's going to be a 6-fight main card. We had a good main card last week. The fights last week were great, but this card in Iowa with Sandhagen and Figueiredo, I think is a little bit even better than last week. I'm not lying, because I badly wanted to see Bo Nickel and De Reina going for a while now. So we're going to break down the UFC fights. I'm going to talk about the Bilal situation, the John Jones situation, the Cuck vs Buck situation, all to do with UFC, of course, all MMA talks. And then we're going to cover Arsenal vs PSG. Not happy about the result. And we're going to expose the 304 that was on the podcast previously and talk about the whole situation. We're going to talk about Mike Obama, big fucking Mike, you know, admitted finally that it was a man. We're going to talk about that situation. We're going to review the NorCal Sherbanger, which actually, we have a few things to review the next coming week. Honestly, a lot of exclusive stuff, a lot of exclusive strains. Big up to all my team who are working on getting all the exclusive bits for us to stay on, you know, ahead of the game. And I'm also going to be covering in the stream how to bounce back from a breakup. I know a lot of you guys on Instagram, you know, a lot of the people that follow me and been watching me for years, I've seen a lot of the young guys going through breakups recently. And, you know, I've been through a breakup myself. And I think I have some great advice to give for you guys, how to get over the breakup, bounce back, and make sure it never happens again in the future, right? You can't always make sure it can't happen again, but you can definitely do the things to do the best on your behalf. You know, women are definitely, you know, they're definitely different creatures, let's just say. They're very different to us simple men, but not simple men, yeah? So, yeah, we're going to speak about that, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to start off with the UFC breakdown, right? We've got Iowa starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time, so it's going to be a late one for all you, my Brits. And you know what? Starting off the main card is the guy who, you know, got famous for just a quote. Who the fuck is that guy? You remember Jeremy Stephens? You remember when he was saying he was the hardest hitting featherweight, and Conor McGregor it was like a press conference, McGregor turned around and looked at him and said, who the fuck is that guy? And that was one of the legendary quotes of Conor McGregor. It's not what made Conor, but it's definitely what made Jeremy Stephens. I knew who Jeremy Stephens was before that, but a lot of people didn't know who he was. So Jeremy Stephens was in the UFC. You know, it's even kind to say that he was a gatekeeper in the UFC. He really wasn't no one in the UFC. He was an old school guy who got through a lot of fights. The last fight he had in the UFC before being released was against actually Gamrot, who's a tough matchup at lightweight, right? And he fought Gamrot in 2021. And then after that, he got released. Before that, he had many losses. He lost to Arnold Allen. He lost to Close. He lost to Calvin Kattar. Actually, Close he didn't lose. Sorry, that one got cancelled. So he lost to Calvin Kattar. Gamrot, obviously. He lost to Yair Rodriguez. He lost to Zabit. He lost to Jose Aldo. To be fair to Jeremy Stephens, he lost to absolute fucking animals. Like, the fighters that I just named are literally some of the best featherweight fighters ever. You know, Aldo, probably still the GOAT of that featherweight division, unless you want to give it to Volkanovski. Zabit, for me, Zabit was the best fighter who quit before his time. Zabit truly was an all-round Dagestani amazing fighter. Like, he had the grappling, he had the spinning kicks, he had the smart striking. He was very tough to beat, all-rounder. So, you know, to see Zabit, which I don't know what happened with Zabit. A lot of people say that the UFC weren't prepared to give him the money that he wanted or the fights that he wanted. But then we also had the other side, which people spoke about Zabit getting into his studies more and going to become a doctor in Dagestan. So, look, Zabit is definitely one of the best fighters to retire before his time. I truly felt like Zabit would have beaten everyone in that division. And when I mean everyone, I mean everyone. I mean Volkanovski, I mean Topuria, I mean Max Holloway, every single one of them. I do think Zabit was a level above all of them. And, you know, it's a big claim, right? And without him showing that, which he did beat a lot of greats on the way up, we can't turn around and say he would have been that. So Like I said, Jeremy Stephens got beat by Jose Aldo, Zabit, Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Couture, and Gamrot at lightweight. So he really went through like the beasts. And yeah, he lost every single one of those. And then he went on to fight Gamrot and then got released from the UFC. Now, after the UFC, you would have turned around and said, you know what? He fucking killed it after the UFC. But he actually didn't. He lost against a guy called Clay Collard. Don't know who he is. He won against Miles Price. Don't know who he is. He lost to Nathan Schultz. Don't know who he is. He drew to Jose Aldo, which was in Game Bred Boxing. That's Masvidal's promotion. And then he lost to Chris Avila, who, from my understanding, Chris Avila is like Nate Diaz, part of Nate Diaz's camp. And then he went and beat Jimmy Rivera, Bobby Taylor, and then he beat the legend Eddie Alvarez, which is kind of what put him back on the map, right? Winning that bare knuckle fight against a legend like Eddie Alvarez, put him back on the map. And then we saw the whole thing with Conor going into the ring and chatting shit to Jeremy Stephens. And, you know, big props to Jeremy Stephens to be able, at the age of, I don't even know how old Jeremy is, but I'm pretty sure he's older than me. Like, let's check how old Jeremy Stephens is. Yeah, I thought so. Jeremy Stephens is not a lot older than me, but let's just say he's quite a lot older than me. He's 38 going on to 39, right? Soon. So Jeremy has been around for years. And it's very rare to see someone leave the UFC at an old age, go and make a name for himself outside the UFC, you know, because all he was really known for was getting beaten up in the UFC and that whole thing with Conor in the press conference. But, you know, we saw him going to bare knuckle fighting, which was it bare knuckle fighting? Did he fight bare knuckle? Yeah, bare knuckle fighting. He fought at Game Bred and yeah. He also fought on the Jake Paul and Diaz card. That's the one where he fought that Chris Avila guy. So, you know, we've seen him leave the UFC, go do badly, then did well, and then come back. All props to Jeremy Stephens. But Jeremy, I do think you're going to get peppered up by the Welshman, Mason Jones. So Mason is... one sec. Yeah, Mason is on a 4-fight win streak right now. He's only 30 years old, from Wales. Big up my Brit. You know, people who know me as an MMA fan know I always back my Brits. Just being British myself. And he also seen that the British MMA scene is definitely on the rise. Not just the British MMA scene, but also the jiu-jitsu scene in the UK and Europe in general. So yeah, we've got Mason Jones on a 4-fight win streak. None of them were in the UFC. Which is crazy because that's another guy who's been in the UFC. He got released from the UFC also in 2022, where he lost a fight to Klein, who's an animal. It was a decision. But just before that, he beat David Onama. Who David Onama right now is a rising, I wouldn't call him a star, but a rising prospect in the UFC. A lot of people talking about him. He just went and won the last weekend. With a great stoppage. So yeah, he beat David Onama with a unanimous decision. So, you know, Mason Jones ain't no fucking punk. He lost to Klein, who's a beast. Then he left the UFC. He went to Cage Warriors, 4-fight win streak. And now he's back in the UFC fighting Jeremy Stephens. So even though he's a lot younger than Jeremy, these guys have similar paths, right? I'm going to go with Mason Jones. Yeah, I'm not going with Mason just because he's a Brit. I'm going with him because he's younger, he's fresher, he hasn't been through so many punches. I know Jeremy Stephens has got like that grit and, you know, he's been through it. He's got that experience. But I think the experience in taking punches can also work to your disadvantage as well. So I do think Mason Jones is going to go get the win. He's only got 2 losses on his record. Within Jeremy Stephens got a bunch of losses on his records. I think he's an all-round better fighter than Jeremy Stephens. I think Jeremy's too much of a striker. I don't think he has the greatest ground game. So this one, I am going with Mason Jones to win this fight. Next up, we have Smotherman v. City. So both up-and-coming guys from my understanding here. Smotherman, he's an American up-and-coming guy. I think he's on 12-4. if I remember correctly. That's right. He's on a 12-4. He's coming off a 4-fight win streak. Only one of those fights was in the UFC, but it was actually against a great fighter, in my opinion, Jake Hadley. And again, I'm not saying that because he's British. Jake Hadley has fought beasts. He's a great striker. And, you know, Smotherman was able to go out there and get a unanimous decision over him. And before that, he was in Fury FC before that, where he did get a 3-fight win streak. You know, against guys that we've never heard of. Nobody's pretty much. But this is his chance now, right? He's beaten Jake Hadley, and now he has to go through and fight Siddy. So Siddy is a Canadian. To all my Canadians, I'm sorry, you're a failed nation. You've been a failed nation for a while now. You was only known for like ice hockey. Then you won the NBA one year. Didn't they? They won the NBA one year, what? Didn't they? The Canadian team. Toronto Raptors, right? Didn't they win the NBA, or they got to the final only? They won it, yeah. So you won the NBA, I'll give you that. You used to be the best ice hockey team. From my understanding, even the Americans are better than you guys at ice hockey now. But apart from making the best maple syrup, the country sucks, man. Apart from GSP, maple syrup, my boy Donny, your country sucks. You know, you guys were about to get out of the hole. You guys were ready to, you know, that Poilievre guy to get the conservative in the, in not the White House, whatever you guys have, Brown House, piece of shit house, whatever. Yeah, you guys were going to get Poilievre in power. And I was thinking, you know, Canada's going to go back to old school times and, you know, building their country again and forget all this wokeness and all this liberal bullshit. But no. Fucking, you got rid of Justin Trudeau, and then you got another pumpkin. This what's his name? Fucking Carmel or Karen, whatever his name is. Failed guy. Canada's a failed nation, man. Like, honestly, even from meeting Canadian people, I have Canadian friends. I have Canadian foot golfers that I get along with. But even when I meet a lot of Canadians, like, you guys don't have a strong enough opinion, man. You lot don't have that grit to say, no, fuck that. I'm not going to let my country go to shit. And look, I'm from the UK, which again, I say the UK is a failed nation as well. But at least in the UK, we do fight back towards the government. When COVID come around, there was people going around saying, fuck yourself, I'm not wearing the mask, I'm not going to get the jab. None of that, yeah? But the Canadians, they were lining up, you know, Fauci was their favourite best friend. Whenever I meet Canadian men, like, look, I met some conservative, masculine Canadian men in my time, but majority of you guys are liberal, soft, and frankly, not men. Anyway, let's move away from that. Run over. I don't even live in Canada, and I feel for it more than you guys. So yeah, we have the Serhiy Sidey. So from Canada, he's coming off a 1-fight win streak. He lost against Tavares in the UFC, and then he went and beat Garnett and Armfield, which isn't a great win either. Even before that, he did have a long win streak, but they were all in promotions I've never even heard of. So he does have a better record. He has 11-2. He does have a better record than Smotherman, but not just because he's American, but I'm going to go for the American to beat the Canadian. Like I said, not just because he's an American and Canadian. I truly do think Smotherman's a better fighter than him. I think he's had better competition. And frankly, this is Sidey's first real challenge in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Smotherman on that one. Next up, we have Montel Jackson, who, you know, old school. Would I call him old? No, he's not an old school guy, but he's been, how old is Montel now? Montel's 33, so he's kind of old school. You know, he's been in the UFC for a while. That's why, yeah, he's old school. He's old school. I was right. He's old school. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's beat some good fighters. He's lost against some good fighters. You know, he lost against Ricky Simone back in the day. He beat Brian Kelleher back in the day, which was also a good win back in 2018. And as of recent, he's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat JP Baez, great win there. He beat Julio Arte, good win there. And he beat Strader, Jesse Strader, which again was a decent win right there. But you know, he's got his hands full this weekend, man. He's going up against the unbeaten Peruvian beast, Daniel Marcos. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, apart from Marcos's gas tank, which I've seen him slow down in the later rounds, I'm kind of high on this guy, man. I know I'm high all the time, but I actually mean I'm high on this guy, pause. So, yeah, I think Daniel Marcos is definitely up and coming. I think he's going to be a problem in that division, which I'm pretty sure it is is it a 145 or 135 division? Daniel Marcos is a big guy for that division as well. Don't get me wrong, so is Montel Jackson, yeah? And like I said, Montel Jackson has got the experience. He's been through it all, coming off a 3-win win streak, but he does have his hands full. He's going up against Daniel Marcos, like I said. Marcos is on a 17-fight win streak. Never lost, 17-0. Also 32 years old. So Marcos, even though he's an up-and-comer and a prospect on the way up, he's only a year younger than Montel Jackson. But he does have some... Well, honestly, he doesn't have many impressive wins in the UFC, but he's got definitely some. He's got the David Grant one. I think that's a great win. Salmon Oliveira, great win. Brandon Lewis, not bad. John Castaneda, great win. But for me, his main win there was Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez is a beast. Great all-round fighter. Definitely a problem in that bantamweight division. And I know it was just a split decision. And I know a lot of people said it could have gone Yanez's way. But Marcos is a problem. And I don't see Montel Jackson stopping him. I think the only way Montel Jackson is going to be able to win this fight is by the experience, taking him down to ground, slowing him down, getting him tired, and, you know, beating on him and slowly taking him to the deep waters. But I do think that Daniel Marcos has got that advantage when it comes to striking. He's long, he's rangy. Let me see how tall he is as well. It says he's only 5'7" here. I don't know if that's a cap, man. Because oh no, shit, wait, one is that? No, yeah, Daniel Marcos, 5'7". And they're saying that Montel Jackson is 5'10". Now, when you look at them, guys, you can go look at them standing. I don't think someone's lying. Let's get this straight. Either someone's not 5'10" or someone's not 5'7". And this actually happened recently. Andy, do you remember who it was recently where we were watching it and I think it might have been the Ian Gary fight, right?
Oh, yeah.
They said Ian Gary was 6'3" or I think it was 6'3" they said Gary was, and they said that Prates was only 6 foot or 6'1". And when you guys watched them fighting, it was very evident that someone was lying there because Prates and Ian Gary looked near enough the same size. If you had to say one was taller, I would have said that Ian Gary was maybe an inch taller, but that's as much as it went. So, okay, next up, we do have the homie fighting. Yes, D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. And this one's truly going to be a striking battle. We've got Ponzinibbio, the Argentine, going up against the LA native Daniel Rodriguez. And you know, these guys are both great strikers. Both in their late 30s. I wouldn't say towards the end of the careers, but definitely not their start. The only difference is that Daniel Rodriguez definitely had a late bloom in his career. He got into MMA very late. If you guys haven't seen the interview between me and Daniel Rodriguez, go check it out. It's on my YouTube. It's on Rumble as well. We interviewed him roughly about, I would say maybe a year ago or 9 months ago now. It was an epic interview. He dropped loads of gems about MMA and his life in general. So yeah, go check that out, guys. So we do have Santiago Ponzinibbio. And, you know, he's coming off quite a roller coaster, let's say, Ponzinibbio. Okay, where do we start? I'll start because Ponzinibbio has really been about for a while. You know, he's fought the likes of Mike Perry, which he won, Neil Magny, which he won, Court McGee, which he won back in the day. Sean Strickland, what a win there, which he won back in the day, unanimous decision. Yeah, man, he's got a lot of wins from back in the day, which are big wins. And then, you know, he went and lost against Jing Liang, which, if you want to do MMA maths right now, it kind of shows you that D-Rod should win this fight, because D-Rod beat Jing Liang and Ponzinibbio lost to Jing Liang. So if you want to do MMA maths, that's pretty much telling you that D-Rod should win this one. However, we're going to carry on with this. So he went and lost against Jing Liang, and then he went and beat Miguel Beza, which was a good win. And then he won and lost to Jeff Neal, Michel Pereira, which are good two fighters, which, you know, Pereira last weekend looked so bad. Would you guys vouch for that? I've never seen Michel Pereira look so terrible. He looked poor last weekend. And then he went and won against Alex Morono, which was a great win from Ponzinibbio, because Alex Morono, for me, is a good fighter. And then he went and lost to Kevin Holland, went and lost to Muslim Salikov, and then got the win against Carlston Harris. So look, like I said, Santiago Ponzinibbio is one of those guys. He either turns up or he doesn't. He's not too consistent. He's fought a lot of the old school greats in the division. And now he has another old school great in the division, D-Rod. Two great strikers going up against each other. And going to D-Rod, you know, and just to say, they both have very, very similar records. We have 30-8 from Santiago, and we have 18-5 from D-Rod. So D-Rod, the last... You know what's crazy? They both beat Alex Morono. This is going to be a great fight, guys. They both beat Alex Morono, which actually that was D-Rod's last fight. But before that, again with D-Rod, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, right? He lost against Kelvin Gastelum, which honestly... I don't think that was a clear win, but people said it was. He lost against Ian Machado Gary, which we're going to talk about the Cuck in a little bit. You know, Cuck vs Buck, which is a fight I want to see happen. And he lost against Neil Magny. But then before that, he beat Jing Liang, he beat Kevin Lee, he beat Parsons, and he beat Mike Perry. So again, this fight, guys, it can go either way. Two great strikers going up against each other. Two lengthy guys as well. Let me check the height on both of them. So I think they're both 6 foot, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Santiago's 6 foot and D-Rod is 6'1". 74 reach from D-Rod and 73 reach from Santiago. So yeah, two guys who are lengthy, decent, quite big size for the division, for the welterweight division, and they have the striking department on lock. So I think this one's going to stay standing. I think this one can go either way, but I'm going to go with my boy D-Rod on this one. I just think recently, even the losses he's had, he looked very promising. Some of them I don't think were even real losses. I think the Kelvin Gastelum one he could have won. But yeah, even with Gastelum didn't want to stand with D-Rod. You know, he wanted... It was a desperate fight from Gastelum, if you want me to be honest. So yeah, that is the Santiago and D-Rod fight. Next up, we don't have two strikers going against each other. We have two wrestlers going against each other. Two up-and-coming prospects. Even one being a star. I would say Bo Nickel is already a star. People are very high on him, including my cousin, including a lot of my friends. And you know what? I was really high on him at the beginning. But as of recently, I do think that his performances have gone downhill. I think this one is going to be a big one for him, going against Raider Derrida. And if he doesn't... Raider Derrida, yeah. If he doesn't get this win, and if it's not even dominant, I think he will lose. He's going to lose a lot of clout and a lot of momentum with his career. So Raider Derrida, he's a Dutch guy. I think he's only fought once now or twice in the UFC. Let me check it out. Oh, twice in the UFC. He fought Gerald Meerschaert, which is a great win. To submit Gerald Meerschaert, you've got to be a good wrestler. Yeah. We've seen Gerald on the ground. Before this loss, I'm pretty sure Gerald Meerschaert was on a long winning streak. Gerald Meerschaert is one of the best ground game guys. You know, he's a great wrestler. He's a great ground game guy. And it's funny to watch Meerschaert fight because since he got knocked out by Khamzat, he's been a different guy. It's like Khamzat knocked some fucking wolf in him or something. But yeah, big up to Meerschaert. He's been on a long streak. But he did lose against Reina de Ridder as of recent, which was in January back in this year. It was to a... it was last year. I'm looking at the wrong one. It was last year that Gerald lost to Ridder in November 2024 to an arm triangle. And then again, Reina de Ridder went and choked out Kevin Holland, Kevin Holland, he's not a ground guy, obviously. You know, all his losses come on the ground. But I feel that he's been concentrating on his ground game so much. For Reina de Ridder to go out and get a rear naked choke on Kevin Holland the way he did, I'm just going to say it's impressive. And I don't think Bo Nickal's going to have an easy one. If Bo Nickal is able to beat Reina de Ridder easily, then I'm going to turn around and say, do you know what? Bo Nickal is the true hype and the true man of what everyone's hyping him up to be. And he does have the potential to go and become a champion in that division. Which, you know, in that middleweight division, it's not that easy. He's going to have to go through Khamzat Chimaev. We've got Dricus du Plessis there, who's obviously a great champion in that division.
Chad saying Rainer.
What?
Chad saying Rainer.
What's that?
Chad says Rainer de Ridder.
Reina de Ridder, yeah. Yeah. What about him? He's saying, he's going to win. Yeah, and did you say Chaz or the chat? Chat, yeah. Chat, I agree with you guys. I think it's worth going and putting a cheeky bet on him because Bo Nickal, in his last couple fights, let me just go through his fights right now. You know, we heard such great things about Bo Nickal, like loads of hype. And in his last fight against Paul Craig, and I know Paul Craig is a beast. I know Paul Craig has even got wins against the light heavyweight champion. If you guys don't remember that, remember that. Paul Craig choked out Ankalaev. Yeah? Was it a choke? Yeah, it was a triangle. He done him with a triangle. So look, Paul Craig's not a punk, but Bo Nickal did make it look difficult. He did not make that fight look easy. And then even before that, you know, he beat Jamie Pickett on the ground. He beat Woodburn. He beat Cody Brundage on the ground again. Look, he's got wins in the UFC, but apart from the Paul Craig win, the Cody Brundage win is impressive, but apart from the Paul Craig win, none of them are superior. I think this is going to be his biggest test going, and this is going to be the fight that really shows what Bo Nickal's made of. So yeah, guys, who do you think is going to win this one? I know a lot of people are high on Bo Nickal. My cousin saying, nah, Bo Nickal's got this, don't you worry. And I do agree with my cousin. Bo Nickal is underrated standing. I do think he's got not great boxing, but he's got decent boxing considering the guy's a wrestler. But he just doesn't risk enough for me. In the Paul Craig fight, he obviously didn't want to wrestle. He was scared of Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu. But if you're going to be scared of his jiu-jitsu, then I've got to see you go out there and take risks on the feet. You've got to go out there and take risks while you're striking if you don't want to take a man down because you're worried about being submitted on the ground. So that's why Bo Nickal, honestly, I shit on him in his last fight. I didn't think it was impressive. Reina de Ridder, he's got impressive wins, you know. His last two wins in the UFC are impressive wins. So this one, I think, can go either way. And you know what? I'm kind of torn, right? Guys know I love to back my Americans and my Brits, but, you know, I back the Americans as well. Even though I'm a proud Brit, I feel like I'm a proud, patriotic American as well. I'm kind of torn between this one. Look, just because Bo Nickal's never lost in his life and Ridder has, I'm going to go with Bo. But this one can go either way. And if Reina de Ridder wins this fight, I'm not going to be like, no way. And I wouldn't tell people to go out there and put a bet on Bo because he's probably going to be the favourite and it's probably not worth betting on him. Okay, so guys, that was the co-main event, which I'm definitely looking forward to. I know a lot of casual MMA fans, they don't want to see wrestling fights. They just want to see people getting beaten the shit out of. But me, me training jiu-jitsu and being a lover of wrestling, I do love a good old wrestling match. I do. You know, I do like it when it's a mixed martial arts fight, when there's a little bit of ground game and striking. But I also do like the wrestling alone, and I do also like the striking alone. Let's just say I'm not a casual. So we do have the next up. We have someone for me who is the best striker in his division. I know a lot of you guys might not agree with me. A lot of you guys might turn around and say, nah, you know what? I think Sugar O'Malley's the best striker in that division. I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think the best striker in the bantamweight division is Corey Sandhagen. Corey's a problem. Corey's got the elbows. He's got the knees. He's got the sit-ups. He's long. He's fast. He's got the head kicks. He's got the low kicks. He's got the straight striking with the hands. He's even got the ground game. For me, honestly, I think Corey Sandhagen is Merab's biggest problem.
Say Merab's a better striker in the chat.
They're saying Merab's a better striker? Chat, you guys are smoking, bro. You guys are smoking that. I want to know what the fuck you guys are smoking.
He says it's just kidding.
Oh, okay, you guys better be kidding. Look, Merab is a great all-round fighter. He applies the pressure. Do I find him boring? Yes, he's very boring. He has no finishes. Merab literally has no finishes. He's been more close to being finished himself. If you guys remember that guillotine, who was it against? Oh, who was the guillotine against? He was in the guillotine and he literally went to sleep as the buzzer went. Like, he was lucky not to lose that fight. I'll remember that fight. So for me, Corey Sandhagen is the best fighter in that division. He's the best. Corey Sandhagen is the best 135 division fighter. And honestly, Ricky Simone. That's it, Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone was that close to tapping out Merab, if you guys remember. Merab was literally blacked out. He was lucky to get through that round. So Merab won that fight. Oh yeah, Ricky might have won that fight. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Merab's got losses. We got to stop acting like Merab's unbeatable. But what I would say about Merab, he knows how to get the win, but he's fucking a boring guy. And I'm not gonna lie to you, even though I got love for my Georgians, I find him cringy and annoying outside the octagon. Like, he's one of those guys who just tries too hard. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Within someone like Corey, he leaves most of it down to fighting. And let's go through Corey Sandhagen's. You know, Corey, the thing is about Corey, it's been a bit of a roller coaster as well. But when Corey's on, Corey's on. So let's just go. Look, Corey beat Mario Bautista. That's a great win for me. Yeah, an armbar as well. Yeah, someone who Mario Bautista is known to take people down and lay on them, like he done in his last fight. But Corey Sandhagen was able to get that armbar. And then, you know, he beat Rafael Asencal, John Lineker. But let's forward. And then he lost against Aljamain Sterling to that rear naked choke. And then he went and beat Marlon Moraes, Frankie Edgar, two great legends of that division. And then, again, he went and lost a split decision to TJ Dillashaw, which I don't think he lost that. And then a unanimous decision to Peter Yan, another great in that division. And then he went and beat Song Yadong, sorry. And then he went and beat Marlon Vera. And then he went and beat Rob Font. And then he went and had these unanimous loss against Umar Nurmagomedov, which you guys saw that fight. It was a great fight. And you got to give him props in that. He was able to go to ground with Umar. He was able to strike with Umar. And I do think that Corey Sandhagen will be the champion of that division. Now, next up, he does have the old flyweight champion, Figueiredo. Davison Figueiredo. One sec. Let me take off my jacket. I'm not going to lie, the office is always freezing, but today I'm feeling hot. I guess I came ready, so yeah. He's got the Davison Figueiredo fight up and coming. And, you know, we saw Davison in his last fight, which I'm pretty sure was against Sterling? Was it against Sterling, which he won, right? No, what am I talking about? Peter Yan, sorry. What am I talking about? Peter Yan. Yeah, that's right. That's what happened. Figueiredo was meant to fight Sterling, and that didn't happen. So with Figueiredo, since he's been in that division, you know, before going into that division, he did beat Rob Font. He beat Cody Garbrandt. You know, he lost to Moreno in the last championship fight. But then he went to the new division and he did beat Marlon Chito Vera, which is a great win. Chito's a good fighter. So, and then he goes to lose to Peter Yan. Honestly, for me, if he can't beat Peter Yan, if Figueiredo can't beat Peter Yan, I just don't see where he's going to beat Sandhagen. I don't see it happening. Like, he can catch him. I think that's the only way Figueiredo is going to be able to win this fight. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen on this one. I think this one's going to be 100% on his side. I think wherever it goes, Corey's going to get that W. And I would like to see Corey get another title fight in the future. So, yeah, guys, that's my wrap-up of the UFC this weekend. Speaking on the UFC, I did see that... One sec, right here. I just want to confirm it. UFC. So, Belal is fighting May 10th, right? May 10th, Belal will be fighting Jack Della Maddalena, which I'll be streaming that actually live while we watch that. And he will be fighting Jack Della Maddalena, right? And he actually released the news that he will be walking out with the Palestinian flag. You guys know I cover the whole Israel and Palestine thing all the time. I like to keep on top of it. I've been keeping on top of it for the last 10, 15 years. Way before it was cool. Way before even the libtards were pushing for Palestine. You know, I've been talking about this for a while now. Even, you know, when it got you cancelled on Instagram. A lot of my Instagrams got deleted, not just because of COVID, not just because of the vax and the jab, but also speaking on that topic as well. Now, you know, I do have things to say on both sides of that, but this is not a political stream. We're not going to go into that. If we are going to speak on that in the future, we will be doing that on Rumble. But Belal has been told that he can walk out with his Palestinian flag. We know the UFC owners are probably not happy with this, but I'm happy for him to see that. And I know people in the comment section were like, well, bro, if they don't let you walk out with a Palestinian flag, go get it tattooed across your chest, like Merab did with the Georgian flag. The only problem with that is it's haram, right? In the Muslim culture, in the Islamic faith, they can't get tattoos. So, yeah, he's not going to be able to do that like Merab did with the Georgian flag. So, wanted to cover that.
They didn't want to have the Georgian flag?
So basically, when they had the ban on flags, Merab obviously was pissed off because he always used to rep Georgia. So he was like, "Oh fuck that! I'm gonna go get it tattooed on my chest." So he got the Georgian flag tattooed on his chest. Now there is speech of John Jones being stripped. Finally, if you guys haven't been keeping up with MMA news, the records have been broken. Tom Aspinall is officially the longest serving interim champion. And John Jones is the longest serving champion in heavyweight, which is a joke, right? He hasn't even done nothing. All he did was beat old man Stipe, and you know, people talking about him being the GOAT of the heavyweight division, longest reigning heavyweight ever. Listen, Dana, you gotta get your shit together. Take your fucking head out of fucking John Jones's ass, yeah, and keep the heavyweight division fucking moving. And I don't want to see Cyril gone. If there's going to be a next fight and you get rid of John Jones, because John Jones should be stripped, just take him out of the UFC. John Jones ain't the GOAT at nothing. Yeah, he's the GOAT of fucking flaking, the GOAT of running, the fucking duck GOAT, the GOAT of steroids, the GOAT of beating up women, including his wife. Fuck John Jones. That guy is not a legend to me no more. Yeah, he was a legend to me. When he started being a pussy, and look, he's a degenerate outside of the UFC. Outside of the octagon, he's a complete degenerate. Yeah, claims himself to be a Christian man, but couldn't be further from that. But the fact now that in the octagon he's running, not just running from a hit and run when he hit a pregnant woman, he's actually running from a fighter now, running from Tom Aspinall, who's the true heavyweight GOAT already. Because Stipe, you guys can call him the GOAT. Who did really Stipe fight? Yeah, Stipe beat Francis Ngannou and that's it. I already think that Tom Aspinall's resume is better than that. Yeah, Tom Aspinall, everyone in the heavyweight division is running away from him. The only guy who wants to fight him truly and deserves it, in my opinion, is Almeida. I think they should set up that fight with Almeida and Tom Aspinall. Fucking Cyril gone. You need to fuck off. Yeah, French bastard, and get to the fucking back of the queue, because you don't deserve it either, bro. You are coming off a fake win with Volkov. You ain't done nothing. You got tapped out to old man John Jones in like a minute. You do not deserve it, bro. Yeah, no chance. If anything, you should go back to the soccer field, because MMA ain't for you. Anyway, and you know what? I was high on Cyril Gane. I was actually high on this guy, but his performance against John Jones, he didn't want to take the Tom Aspinall fight, but then when Tom Aspinall became a champion, all of a sudden he wanted to take the fight. Doesn't work like that. And Dana, you need to start punishing fighters for not wanting to take fights. All of them. And look, if there's guys who are going to turn around and say they don't want to take fights, the only guys who can turn around and say those kind of things are the old school legends who have been there, done that, been through everyone. Islam wiped out majority of the lightweight division, right? He doesn't want to fight Topuria now. You guys are already speaking about stripping him. But I actually understand where Islam Makhachev is coming from. He just beat the featherweight champion twice. He beat Volkanovski twice. And now you want to throw another featherweight at him? I'm high on Topuria. I'm a fan of Topuria. But I do believe that Topuria needs to go out and get a solid win in the lightweight division before he gets that title fight. Topuria, go beat Charles Oliveira. You know, yeah, I think Charles would be a good one. You know, I would have said Gaethje or Dustin Poirier or someone like Max before. But, you know, I've seen Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway being booked. I honestly think that Topuria needs to get a win before him fighting Islam. Islam's done way too much in that division to be violated and played off like this. And I know the MMA guru and a lot of MMA influencers turn around and say that Dana White loves the Dagestani guys and all that. I don't think he fucking does. I don't think he really likes the Dagestanis. I don't think he wants many Russians being champions. You know, he was high on Khamzat because Khamzat brought a lot of eyes. He brought a lot of records with views. He liked Khabib, who also holds a record in the UFC. His fight with Conor McGregor, the most pay-per-view buyers. And, you know, we can turn around and say it was down to Conor, but it wasn't. It was down to both of them. It was the whole Christian vs Muslim thing, the Island vs Dagestan thing. It was everything. If Khabib wasn't in that fight wouldn't have got as many pay-per-views. But Dana don't really like the Dagestanis. Dana, like, you know, you guys can say that he gave Umar a shot too early. But in this situation here, I don't think he's being favourable towards them. I don't think he likes Ankalaev. He didn't want Ankalaev to be the champion. Of course he didn't. He wanted Pereira to be the champion. So yeah, that's my take on it. And yeah, I hope John Jones gets stripped and they move on, because I'm sick and tired of the heavyweight division being where it is. Like, it's been way over a year now. I think it was 500 and something days where Tom Aspinall has been just stagnant, right? Okay, and next up, before we move away from the MMA talk, we do have here, there's a video I want to show you guys, right? Guys, what do you guys think of this video? I know you guys have been seeing a lot of Ian Gary talk. Look, impressive win last weekend. Before I shame Gary and talk about him being a cuck and him being a weak man and, you know, being his wife's husband, no, his husband's wife, sorry. I'm gonna give him his props. Against Prates, I think he fought immaculately. Prates didn't have the cardio or the killer instinct to take Gary out in the last 2 rounds, which I did think that Gary started to, you know, go downhill, get tired, get hit, and start wrestling. He got desperate, especially in the last round. But the first 3 rounds were a complete masterclass for me and Gary. Complete masterclass. Ian Gary might be a cock, but Ian Gary is definitely one of the smartest fighters in the UFC. He knows when to strike. He knows when to turn it into wrestling. He knows when to slow down the pace of the fight. He knows when to speed it up and go for the kill. He is a very smart fighter, an all-round fighter, and he does have the potential to be a champion. But he will be a welterweight champion maybe, but if he becomes a welterweight champion, he still will be a champion of cuckinism. So, you know, that's how Joaquin Buckley called it as well. He says he doesn't speak Cuckinese. And I understand that fully. Now, let's look at this clip where Ian Gary is speaking to Jamal Hill, right? And he turns around and says something really, really unusual, to the point where he asks his wife, babe, what do I always say to you? And his wife tells him what he says all the time. And Jamal Hill, I'm pretty sure Jamal Hill's just shocked. He doesn't know what to say, right? He's like, what the fuck? What did this guy just say? And he turns around and says, oh, you know, you're getting there, which I don't know what kind of response that is, but let's listen to the clip.
What am I?
You're on your way.
All I know is
You're on your way.
I have that extra 3% athleticism. Right?
Or did he mean three
I'm that beautiful
3 inches?
skin that when I get sweaty, I look like I'm covered in crystals. I'm like, shit, I would be money.
Bro, you gotta hear this again.
What am I?
All right, guys, gotta stop that there. He turns around to his wife, right? If you guys don't know about Ian Gary's wife is a lot older than him, which, you know I'm an older guy and I get a lot of shit in my DMs when I talk about younger women, and I get a lot of older women who are washed up, bitter, and frankly, they're leftovers. No one wants older women, right? And they always shame me and say, oh, well, you're predatory and all of that. But a man being older than a woman is completely normal, and how dynamic should work. But when I see a woman who's way older than a man and she's the leader and she runs things, that for me is truly predatory. Now he turns around to his wife and said,
If I could have that extra 3% athleticism, right? I'm that beautiful fucking skin.
That beautiful skin.
I look like I'm covered in crystals.
Looks like I'm covered in crystals when I'm sweaty.
I would be money. In my dreams, what am I?
Turns around to his wife. His husband, sorry. Babe, in my dreams, what am I? She turns around and says, a big black man. Literally, that's exactly what she said. A big black man. And he's talking to a big black man, Jamal Hill. What am I? That's what she answers. He wants to be a big black man. Jamal Hill doesn't even laugh. He's genuinely, I think, in his head shocked. Like, what? Like, firstly, does Ian want me to serve as his wife? I mean, his husband? Or like, what's he talking about here? And Jamal Hill, you're a funny ass motherfucker as well. Like your response is fucking legendary. You're like, yeah, you're on your way. I don't know what the fuck you meant by that, but yeah, you're on your way. And then
all I know is
if I could have that extra 3% athleticism, or did he mean the extra 3 inches?
Right? I'm that beautiful fucking skin that when I get sweaty, I'm like...
That beautiful skin that when I get sweaty, I'm like look like I'm covered in crystals. I'm like, shit.
Money.
I would be money.
In my dreams, what am I?
Guys, let me know if it's just me. Like, let me know if I'm losing it. But this guy is King Cuck. He's even worse than Chris J.Q. Perry. He's even worse than Yad Awakening. This guy is literally king of cucks. Like, this is just on the same level as having a wife or girlfriend who's like, does corn. Like, you know, like, this is crazy to me. Like, this literally, like, does he want Jamal Hill to go fuck his wife while he sits in the corner and watches? Because this is how it seems. This is crazy. But, yeah, man. Recently, we also had a situation where Buckley goes to confront Ian Gary in the last press conference. It wasn't even the press conference, it was the weigh-ins, right? The weigh-ins happen. Ian Gary is, you know, at the weigh-ins doing his whole thing. And then Buckley starts to walk over to Ian Gary. And, you know, we know Buckley, he's a little bit cringe and a little bit corny, but he's on his way over to make a situation out of it, to probably advertise and promote the fight, the Cuck vs Buck fight, right? And as he's on his way up, I don't know, honestly, I couldn't tell if Ian Gary's wife saw this or not, but Ian Gary's wife grabs the baby and walks over and gives the baby directly to Buckley. Now, if she did see Buckley walking over, listen, you obviously know, one, your man's a coward and you are a dumb hoe. You are literally a dumb bitch. Like, for you to use your baby as a shield and walk over and give the baby to Ian Gary so he doesn't get into confrontation with Buckley, that's some weak ass shit. That's like, yeah, that's some weak ass shit. And I don't know if you did see him, but what I do know is Ian Gary definitely saw his husband, after giving the baby over, the kid over to Ian Gary, walks over to Buckley and says something that we don't know exactly what she said to Buckley. Buckley turns around and says, "I'll see you later on tonight." I don't know. Listen, would I be surprised if she said that? I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, did she really say that? But what I did see is her like stroke, like, you know, like kind of caress Buckley's arm. If I have someone who's clowning me, my MMA future fighter, and you go over and you caress his arm, whatever the fuck you say, even if you turn around and say, my man's gonna knock you the fuck out, like, do not touch another man, especially caressing his arm. Like, that's some weird shit, especially after you said publicly that your man wants to be a big black man. Now, Ian Gary's wife, do you want him to be a big black man? Is he lacking somewhere? I don't know. Like, what's going on here, man? What the fuck is going on in MMA? And what's all this cucketry that's going on? So that's basically me covering Cuck vs Buck. But I do think that's going to be a great fight. I think on the ground, I think Ian Gary's a better fighter. I think standing up, Ian Gary's a better fighter. But I do think that Joaquin Buckley has more chance of knocking Ian Gary out. He has the power. When Buckley hits you, when Buckley touches you, out cold. And we've seen that with Stephen Thompson. We saw that with a lot of people in the past. He has got the power. And, you know, he even had the power at middleweight. But now he's back at a welterweight, his true division. Buckley is a problem. And if he carries on going the way he's going, do not be surprised if he ends up being a champion. Which I do think he would struggle against Bilal, but you never know. People, what's your take on the Buck vs Cuck?